As we move into our next panel discussion, we delve into a question that is becoming increasingly critical in the AI era. Ethics versus economics. Who truly wins in the AI race? On one hand, we have the drive for innovation, efficiency, and profit, forces that push AI to evolve at lightning speed. On the other hand, we face ethical concerns, bias, privacy, accountability, and other long-term impact on society. Today, our esteemed panelists will help us navigate this delicate balance, examining whether the AI race should be guided by economic ambition, ethical responsibility, and perhaps a careful blend of both. Let's explore the challenges, the trade-offs, and the future of AI through their insights.
So please welcome Krishna Potnis, founder at Connecting Fintech, is a fintech growth advisor with extensive experience in payment systems, handling over 100 million transactions daily. He specializes in tokenization, AI-driven fintech, cloud and soft POS solutions, and RegTech advisory. Krishna Potnis is also the author of Connecting Fintech and a thought leader in digital banking innovations, accompanied by Ankita Sabharwal, head of data privacy at Chadda and Chadda, Nagaraja Bangalore Subbarao, managing attorney of Brand Counsel Law, Shivakumar G, founder and CEO of ethicists.
Can we please have you on stage? Give a round of applause, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Can you all hear us? Everybody is tired after food, sleepy. So should we try the exercise that DJ tried in the morning? Both hands. Yeah, hopefully some people are woken up. Yeah. So first I need to congratulate Anup. It has been great sessions since morning. First Phoenix coming out. Then we have a fantastic keynote from Sandeep ji, where we understood how to make more money from IPO. And then we have human in the AI, which was very interesting because we talked about empathy. Madam had very good points as well about overall human in the loop, how to different persons have different personality. Then we had new age startups, which I think was one of the interesting panel, and that kind of right pivots into our topic today. Yeah. So basically the topic, as you can see, ethics versus economics. So today we are running behind economics. Especially in India, we have lots of economic pressures. We are running to become the 4th largest economy, I think we became recently. And the race is on. So every startup wants to become unicorn. I think we had hundreds of unicorns now. So the race is on. Every startup wants to become unicorn. So what is the problem with this ethics? Why are we talking about this? Yeah. So anybody, whatever product companies you guys are building the products, anybody reviewing ethics before they start doing product development? If you can raise hands. I don't see any. One. Yeah. So that's that's the situation that we need to work out with. So basically, we need to look at the situation from perspective of humans, as we had learned from the panel earlier. At the same time, we have so much automation, so much AI in the space currently, that whether our lives are governed by the AI or whether we have control. So that's a kind of question we are looking at currently. at one point of time, our health insurance can be governed by our watches. At the same time, our browser history can be deciding our credit rating. So it's very tricky today with AI. So that's why we are going to decode today with the esteemed panelist here. Yeah. So we'll try to introduce. I think the team did great work introducing all the panel, but I'll take from each of you 30 seconds. What is your daily struggle with ethics versus economics?
Thank you, Krishna sir. Thank you everyone for joining in. I know we're all facing a post-lunch slumber because of the gulab jamuns, but we'll try to make it interesting. So just to give you a background of what I do, I'm a lawyer. I'm a technology, data privacy and IP lawyer. So I'm at that intersection of enabling business yet ensuring ethics. As lawyers, we're always considered to be harbingers of unethical practices because we're always trying to, sort of find loopholes in regulatory frameworks. But actually, we find ourselves at the intersection of allowing, safe business practices within a regulatory framework. So that's the work I do. A lot of my day goes into AI. For the last 5 years, I think, I see myself more as a technologist than a lawyer, thanks to the, groundbreaking technologies which we're seeing daily on a daily basis. It could be on a patent front, it could be related to privacy. So yeah, that's about me. As we delve more, I'll probably try to give you an insight, but yeah, for 30 seconds, I think that should be good.
Thank you, Ankita ji.
Thank you, Anup and the organizers for inviting. Yeah. Thank you, Anup and Startup Expo for the opportunity. Thank you, Krishna sir. Basically, I'm an IP lawyer too. I started with IP. Now I deal with tech and data privacy. Of course, AI is an extension of technology in general. So as a lawyer, typically, I started, as I told you, my career in IP. Innovation is first thing for me, then the regulation, right? So whatever excites you, you can start working on it. There's no doubt about it. Maybe you can do an MVP. I mean, all of you are in startups, you can understand, minimum viable product. Before you launch your product, maybe you might have to consider ethics. I would say ACE, right? Assessment, compliance, and ethics. So that would be my key mantra. Whenever you are starting a product, you can always look at assessment from an IP perspective, data privacy perspective, and then AI perspective, if at all anything is there. And then the compliance, and then, yeah, that would be my initial remarks.
Thank you, Nagaraj sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chetan. I'm an executive coach. So I deal with dilemma all the day when I work with CXOs and startup founders. I know many of us here are startup founders. Let me ask, who all of you worry about the return of investment for your VCs and for yourself when you're running business? Many hands. How many of you are thinking about building an ethical product, ethical company? Good to see that. And this is the culture we need to build. And I think that's what we would be trying to do in this moderates in this session. That would be my 30 seconds. Thanks.
Thank you, Chetan
Thank
sir.
you.
Yeah, so based on the earlier panel that we had, where there are all young startup focused people, and there were this question talked about. Yeah, Harsha was here, moderator, and he asked this question to the startup founders. And the three people gave completely three different answers. If you have remembered, Zilopia guy gave the answer, Ajinkya gave the answer saying that we will use AI to address ethics and regulatory. Prem answered that as long as you do basics right, we should be okay. And Abhilash indicated that as long as we don't share the data, we should be okay. So there were three different views, but I would like to ask Ankita ji, in this startup world, there are everyday new startup and new ideas are coming, and we are at this crossroads, whether to focus on the Chetan sir said about VC is getting the money into the system, getting into production, fail fast. That was one of the mantra that earlier panel talked about. Does it seem that ethics is afterthought and it should be incorporated earlier? And what is it? What is your thinking? Whether there is a blueprint change to be done in startups? Because everybody would like to understand from your perspective.
Thank you, Krishna sir. So, it's a very interesting question, and it's actually a very interesting time because just a couple of weeks ago, I read this book, and all of you who are interested in AI maybe can just grab your copy. It's called The Final Invention. The author of this book, James Burrard, he said something, which I'd like to quote here, and I found it rather very interesting. He said that AI does not love you, nor does it hate you, but you're just made out of atoms that it can use for something else. I hope that hits hard. Today we're at a time, and especially one of the earlier panelists also said that most of the young graduates are definitely, at a time when things are really growing. But, there are two sides to the same coin. In a country like India, where the population also grows, can we automate everything? Is it ethical to automate everything? Do we compromise dignity over convenience? And these are the questions that, we face on a daily basis. Coming to startups, I genuinely believe, and this is, I'm saying it as a lawyer, there is something called ethical business, where business and ethics can work together. You will find yourself at an intersection often, whether you have to choose business over ethics. I'd like to quote Shah Rukh Khan here. He once said, "Become a philosopher only when you're rich." As an attorney, I would definitely say that, sitting in India, where, probably now you see more and more VCs pumping funds into the companies, but the expectations and the number of startups getting this funding is very, very low. If you're in a bootstrapped setup where you've put in those few lakhs from your parents, you cannot afford to, put ethics before business. But having said that, Indian laws are also very business friendly. I definitely have to say that, I work a lot with companies globally. Japanese, Singapore companies, US companies, Europe. The laws are very, very stringent. In India, the regulatory framework is designed in a manner that you can enable business. Of course, people say India there are a lot of licenses and all of that you need. There is definitely a little bureaucratic effort that you have to put, but I think businesses can run ethically here. I'd like to talk about the data privacy law in India. There's a lot of discussion about data being consumed. India has a new data privacy law. I don't know if many of you know. It's called the DPDP Act. The law is not formally enforced yet. It's going to be enforced in November. This particular law is the first legislation in India which is dedicated to protecting privacy of individuals. So as a business, you have to ensure that if you're collecting data of even one Indian citizen, it could be a customer, it could be an employee, it could be a vendor, you have to comply with the act. But the act takes its inspiration from the GDPR, which is the European law, which is much stricter. There, if you're non-compliant, no questions asked. So in India, I think, again, be ethical, try to be ethical, and I'm not going to mince my words here and say, I don't want to take a neutral stand. I'd say that, you will find yourself asking this question again and again, but it has to be situational. Where it probably does not compromise the business, put ethics first. And when I say that, put business first, I don't mean do unethical practices. that tomorrow you quote me, you do a fraud and you say that, oh, Ankita said, Arey, put business first. I mean, make yourself compliant, but don't go overboard if the cost is too high. And, I also want to just add on to one thing. Ethics for me could be different for, as per ethics for you. Ethics are so subjective. You and I don't have the same ethics. You and I don't have the same morals. Probably my way of doing business can look immoral to you. Probably a policeman who's, standing at the junction, his way of doing his work may seem immoral to you. But who are we to decide? We're nobody to, questions anyone's ethics. But yes, when you talk about ethical practices, do not do unlawful activities. Morals and ethics side mein, work lawfully is what would be my suggestion.
Thank you, Ankita ji. Anybody wants to talk about DPDP, you know whom to talk to. Yeah. So I would urge all the startup founders to get in touch with Ankita, Nagaraj sir, to make sure that you understand the DPDPA. Yeah, otherwise it's going to be tough times in future. Nagaraj sir, your comment on this.
I think it's a challenge sitting next to Ankita. I believe I'll have to find my words to now. I'll try to talk more from a business perspective. Of course, I'll also try to intersect law here. See, end of the day, we are living in a fast-paced world where, as you mentioned, fail fast or do whatever you want, you can do fast. Everybody wants to become a rich, right, overnight. So, thanks to AI, there are few business where you can make quick money kind of a thing. At the same time, when there is no regulation, that means you're legal, right? You're not trying to cross the border or anything, right, in general. So for me, ethics is basically when you are collecting the data from a data perspective, when you are collecting the photos, when you are processing the videos, whatever, try to ensure you put some security standards and other things. You don't, give easy or free access to other people so that they can hack your system or something. Those things you see, if you are utilizing and if you are making some value addition, monetization out of it, that's fine. Nobody is questioning. But don't try to, how many of you tried, recent AI kind of a thing? Try Sari challenge with Gemini. I mean, everybody would have put their image and get a sari, other challenges, right? So that means they are collecting your photos. So basically it's a sensitive thing, right? As an individual, we need to be aware first. And then, okay, let's take for a moment, it's like going back, if I don't eat a tiger, that doesn't mean tiger will not eat us, right? Same thing. If you don't apply your mind and logic, don't expect other people to be ethical, right? You need to be first aware of the situation, right? So you need to know where it is going. So that's where this, the data, the photo, all these things will come, right? Earlier, Facebook was supposed to connect us to our old friends and other things. Today, it is selling us all the ads and it is profiling us, right? That means there is a monetization they are doing. And finally, we are just scrolling and we are just time passing just because it's free. The moment it becomes some money associated with that, I'm sure many of us will quit, right? There are only two ways I would look at it from a general GAN perspective. Either the data has to, whatever the data we are consuming, it has to be charged at an extremely high level, or all these apps should be cost. There should be some cost associated with that. Otherwise, people will still keep scrolling kind of a thing. We are making money for them, the other people. So, as I told in the beginning, I think it's always good to see at the beginning what are the ethical things that you're doing, practices for your business rather than at the last, so that at least you don't, end up compromising on the personal data or any other critical information of the person whom you are using for your business. That would be my...
Thank you, sir. So, basically the Facebook example that sir gave, there was a quote that if you are getting the product for free, that means you are the product. So in that case, you become the product. So this is good comment, sir. Chetan sir.
Exactly. Facebook is not the product, we are the product for the Facebook and LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if you've not seen the social dilemma, go and watch it today or when you get the chance. So after listening about what is ethic, what is legal, I was a little confused. I was thinking what to say. So let me make it simplify. Is there a law that we have to get the engine oil change in our car every 6 months or 1 year? Is there a law? There's no law. Why do we get it changed? Do we all get the engine oil get changed in our two-wheelers or four-wheelers? Why do we get it? There's no law, right? Still get it because our car will stop in the middle of road if we don't get it. And the cost of repairing that would be 10 times of what getting an engine oil change. Same is the ethics, right? Now, it's not illegal if I don't get that engine oil change, but it can stop my vehicle when I need it most. Similarly, ethics, and I would say we have to follow the law, but our ethics should be better than the law, what law tells us. And that should be the guiding principle for all of us. And I think to again simplify ethics, because it's very broad, in my conversation, for this discussion, I would split into two things. One is the data. What is the ethics? What is the legal when we are handling the data? And AI is based on data, we all know. There's no AI without data. That's the first thing. Second thing, as an entrepreneur, as a techie, are we putting enough guardrails in the AI system for it not to get wrong? Because it's not the system which is getting wrong, it's you who is building the system who is getting wrong. So I would focus on these two things. That's my take.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So next question would be for Nagaraj, sir. It is more of diving deep into the process of generating AI. So you talked about the photos. So there are lots of brand people generating brand information, logos, using AI today. With banana, people are creating, we were talking earlier as well. So what is the IP of that? So even there were cases earlier where these models or the agents are infringing on some other company's proprietary information. So how do you see this IP security from the AI perspective?
Sure. As you know, there are several cases, especially related to IP litigation. See, let's just step back a little bit. We'll try to understand what exactly is AI. See, AI deals with generally two kinds of data. One is the proprietary data, other one is the personal data in general, right? So when it comes to proprietary data, that means it holds some IP. Either it is a patent, trademark, copyright, or the design in general. So here what we are referring to OpenAI, Anthropic and other cases is predominantly on the copyright law, right? See what copyright law says. See, all of these laws are slightly older and they were typically for human kind of a thing. That means there was an author who wrote a book, or somebody who created a lyrics, somebody who created a music, or somebody who created a software, for example, with the machine and other things. So all these things were typically were in existence for these kind of things. Now with AI becoming at the intersection of the technology, and see with AI what is happening is, even though for example an LLM, right, or whatever SLM, small language model, whatever you call, it needs some data. Without a data, it cannot be transformative or it cannot generate anything, right? So who is feeding the data? Are they procuring from the right source? Do they have a license for that? Right? All these things are in question. So that's where in the what you call OpenAI case and the Anthropic case, there was a settlement in the US. In the Indian context, it is not yet decided. It's still, the case is going on. Okay, but however, the general principles apply the same for the copyright law. It's the author who has to get some moral or monetary gains. If somebody is using without the permission, like for example, you are using a book for your personal use, no issues. If you are if you are making a photocopy and if you are selling, or if you are creating a pirated version, then definitely you are not supposed to. Same logic applies to even the software and other related to the copyright and in general. So so as I told you, that is one scenario. Coming to the what is generated, right? So in terms of the copyright, it is the author who gets the copyright in general, whoever creates. So here, when AI is taking some inspiration or some text from that, and if it is giving a transformative, it's not yet settled who can be the owner. It's more or less neither the AI is claiming, neither the prompt giver is claiming at this point of time. They are the author kind of a thing. But however, if you want to apply for a copyright or any IP in general, it is the human. That means it has to be a natural person, right? It cannot be a legal person who can apply for a what you call in general, right? Of course, you can apply, but here we are talking about a legal person who can apply. So the matter is not settled. We expect what you call some kind of a what you can say clarity on that. Only when the copyright laws are updated and then we have a data privacy compliance and other things, then we can see AI becoming ethical and compliant kind of a thing. Till that time, I don't really see much of things around that.
So just quick one before we. So if we create a logo using AI, can that be copyrighted?
I would not say you don't copyright, you go and trademark it also if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, but see, end of the day, when you're applying for a trademark, they're not asking you from which source you are getting.
All right.
Maybe for a copyright perspective, it might not be that viable because, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd like to just sort of, add to it as an IP and, technology litigator. I want to ask how many of us are actually, we own or we are building AI products, AI systems. Just a show of hands, guys, that'll be great. AI systems. So I want to actually talk about two cases which are very interesting. Back in 2014, Amazon in its Edinburgh office, they developed a model. That model it was an AI model, which was to be used for recruitment purposes. So that model would, automate recruitment. And 11 years ago, these things were path breaking. Now, every second company is doing that. But this is 2014. So Amazon was pretty excited to launch this and they said, okay, we're going to do it. Suddenly, when they sort of launched the pilot of the model was trained on a 10-year data set, right? So 2004 to 14 was the data, 2004 to 13 was the data set the model was trained on. And at that point in time, there weren't many women in STEM, right? We all understand STEM, we didn't have many women, in sciences, in technology and engineering. So the model developed an inherent bias against women. So every time any of the resumes would use keywords like women, girls' college, female, it would automatically reject that resume. So this is where, when we're talking about ethics, ethical AI, responsible AI, your model, it can never be 100% non-bias. Because AI systems, I believe, are a reflection of the society. They do not only reflect the society's intelligence, but also its flaws, its inequalities, and its biases. So your system is as biased as you are. But, at a time when things are so different and rapidly moving, I think having a pure data for training is very, very important. Try to make the data as non-biased as possible, because Amazon faced a litigation. They had to pay a huge fine for, deploying a model which was clearly discriminating against women. Coming to an Indian example, and this would be helpful. We all know Tata Communication Services, TCS, right? So Tata, they actually, collaborated with an AI company to do a recruitment pilot back in 2019, where all the candidates, right, they had a mask on. So they had completely anonymized the faces. TCS observed a positive hiring rate for female up to 23%. 23% more females were being recruited because there was no bias. So I think when it comes to, our businesses, responsible AI, which we call RAI, has to be the ethical path that you need to follow, the principles. You'll be able to see the principles, the 7 RAI principles. I think they should guide your ethics when it comes to AI companies. And, just adding on to what Nagraj sir also said, when it comes to ownership, right? Nobody owns the data in today's time. No, you only own your data. You don't own my data just because we all know about MyGate. How many of us have MyGate? MyGate, when it started its business, it went up to every society, every commercial building and said, you know what, we're going to give you these e-barriers for free. And, societies, because in India, we love free lunches, right? So everybody was more than happy to take it. They said, yeah, this will be great. All that MyGate said was, you need to put a QR code, right, on every vehicle that comes into, and for convenience we did it. Was the real business model that e-barriers? No. The real business model was that every Swiggy guy who enters your society, MyGate should know, so that they can sell that data to Zomato at a higher price. So whenever, and we're, as Indians, we're happy to give out our names and phone numbers at a McDonald's for a burger. Whenever I'm traveling abroad, nobody asks for it. But in India, the business practices are such that, for a Mec Veggie, I'm ready to give out my details. So I think ethical data practices have to start from you. As an individual, you need to be conscious of your data to be able to build conscious data compliant businesses. If I care for my data as a business owner, I will also care for your data. Because you may be a customer for me in my business, but I'm going to be a customer at 30,000 other businesses. So for me as an attorney and, with the work that we do, I'd say legal ethics, compliance, everything has to start at an individual level. Just because you're not being caught crossing a red light, karte raho. You don't do it because it's not safe. And we've all learnt it over time. So I think, Indians, we like to infantilize ourselves. We want a danda on our heads all the time to do stuff. Let's, as business owners, not infantilize the businesses that we're building. So whatever compliance that you need to do, you should not wait for a ministry notification or a court order to suddenly panic and do that compliance. Do it from the beginning. Privacy has to be privacy by design, embedded into the systems. You can't have a startup ready and you're at a product launch stage and then you say, isme privacy policy dal do. Doesn't happen. You're going to face the repercussions under the DPDP Act. The penalties can range up to 250 crores. Or 2% of the annual turnover, one-time penalty. So if you have a turnover of 1 crore, we're looking at 2 lakhs at a one-time penalty. So I think, ethics and all of that needs to come from within. These giants who thought they were too smart, law caught up to them. Umpteen number of times when Meta thought it's too smart, and the entire Cambridge Analytica case came into the forefront, they've lost millions and millions of dollars. So don't think that you're too smart because legislatures and judiciary is smarter. That would be my 2 cents on
Thank
this.
you. So we need to hear other side of the story.
Yeah.
From Chetanji. So with all this, a bit of a scary stuff. Yeah. Yeah, big numbers. And how do startup take this over? How is it going to hamper the development? Is it going to hamper our startup boom? This DPDPA. So, what is your take from the industry perspective?
Sure. So extending Ankita's example, I think many of you would have heard about culture eats strategy for breakfast. Have you heard from Peter Drucker? Yeah. Right? I'll modify it a little bit. Culture eat algorithm for breakfast, which is more relevant to it. So it's on the culture what we are building. Otherwise, all your self-regulation, all of your responsible governance you can have, it will get eaten by the culture what you have in your organization. Now, coming up to the question, how do we do it? Krishna, that's what you're asking for.
Right.
And this is dilemma we all face. Do we go for the speed or do we go for the governance?
Right.
And I don't think it's one or other question. It's a balance. And coming from the product, coming from the technology background, when we build a software, we build a product, we don't only think about the feature we are shipping or in your phones when you get an update. So update is what is visible to you, but that's not the only thing I'm shipping as an entrepreneur, as a product manager. I'm also taking care of that all the defects are getting fixed. A app might be so beautiful, so user-friendly. Will you use if it has defects? No, simple. Third thing is, what is the regulation, the risk? That's also part of the flow which an entrepreneur has to take care of. And so I give this example very often. There are some metrics which we are doing it for the sake of others. But there are some metrics which we measure for our sake. So I take my body weight every morning, not to tell it to anyone, but to ensure that I am healthy. So I think governance, risk, ethics is something which you could be a entrepreneur, you could be a startup founder, you could be a developer. You have to have that needle of the governance. And the way of doing it is split your work into three. The new work you're building, the new feature, the defects you're fixing, and the governance. And if you're not taking all of them at the same time, and I would like to share one example here from Microsoft. There was one time in the history of Microsoft when there was a memo went to all the developers that we are not going to ship any new software till we told you to do. Why? Because they had so much of defects to be fixed. So they were only focusing on building new features. They forgot about the defects. And then it became so much that they could not move till they clear that, what we call the technical debt also
Right.
in product or technology. So always have three buckets: new feature, fixing defect, and the governance of that.
Yeah, so ethics is not a feature. Lack of ethics is not a bug. Right? Okay. So
Where is the bar?
it is the bug, Nagaraj sir.
It's the engine oil in your car.
Yes. Okay, so I think we are almost at the end. So we are talking about DPDPA. So you said it is not as stringent as GDPR. So should we be worried about that there are some things that are not covered by DPDPA and there will be holes?
No, that's an interesting question. See, the DPDP Act, right? It's a law. It's a new law. And it's obviously privacy. It's a privacy-focused law. But just because, there was no law, it's not like companies did not follow the basic privacy framework. I'll give you two examples. Back in 2020, any one of us has insurance from Star Alliance Health Insurance? Okay, you do, right? Even I. Yes. So 2020 Star Alliance Health Insurance, they suffered a data breach. And about 7.2 million users were affected. Their data was breached and it came into the public domain. The following year, Star Insurance lost 34% of its revenue. Angel One. Any one of us knows about Angel One? Everybody does, right? Angel One very recently faced a data breach. While they were able to fix it very quickly, they did face a 4.7% reduction in their share value. So coming back to the DPDP Act, right? Now the Act mandates every business, irrespective of the size, you could be a proprietorship, you could be a Microsoft, you could be a Wipro, you could be a partnership. If you are collecting data of Indian citizens, you have to comply under the Act. You don't have an option. Now, of course, the compliance frameworks includes a lot of policies, agreements. If any one of you is looking for that, get in touch, separately. But coming back to how it differs from the from the GDPR. See, India is a very different country. It's like, if you compare India and Europe, it's comparing apples and oranges. Europe is a very mature jurisdiction when it comes to data. The GDPR, which came into 2017, was not the first data act for Europe. Europe has had a history of data privacy acts ranging back to 1974. Can anybody tell me why was Europe always more conscious of data privacy as compared to any other country? Anyone? Absolutely. Europe has faced a history of profiling. People were profiled on the basis of their race, ethnicity. And unlike the colonial hangover, which we've overcome, Europe has still not. So people were always conscious of their data. So the GDPR Act, of course, has, certain specific requirements which differ from the Indian Act. Because India is not that mature a jurisdiction, and India cannot afford to have such stringent acts right now. Because we're a developing country. No matter what people say, Europe sitting in NATO would have a different stand. Because they can afford that. In India, we have to feed so many more mouths. So the Indian Act is less stringent. Having said that, I would not say it does not cover anything that the GDPR covers. It's just that the requirements are more localized in India. The Indian law does not ask you to localize data. So you don't have to have servers in India. It's not mandatory. But in Europe, there is a whole thing of if you're an adequate country, you have to if you're transferring data outside Europe, countries have to be measured based on their adequacy. In India, we have a blacklisting approach. There are some countries to which data cannot be transferred. The list of those countries is yet to be out, but we anticipate it would be Pakistan. For obvious reasons, and we're facing cybersecurity threats in the last decade from Taiwan as well. So these two countries we definitely are anticipating to be on the list. So if any one of you is transferring any data to these two countries, I would just want to sort of warn you, do not do that. If you have, I hope you're not dealing with Pakistani customers. If you are, then start, getting rid of that domain of your business. And otherwise you're sorted. Then you just have to get a basic compliance framework done, and you're more or less sorted. But I just like to end my 2 cents on something. I would just like to say that all of us who are sitting here, right? I know we are going to go out and then give our phone number at McDonald's again. You don't have to. Start saying no. Wherever you don't have to give your data, start saying no, I don't want to give it. I do not want to give it. Can I still get my burger? They will give you your burger. I've tried it. So that would be my take on it.
Thank you everybody. I think we are out of time. So there are so many key takeaways. One is the DPDP Act. Again, the ethics is not optional. Ethics is mandatory. Also, regulatory is something that you need to put in the process as early as possible. And you have to be careful about what you have generated from AI. Yeah. So be careful about what you are building. And these are the guys that you need to contact when you are in doubt. You have a problem. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Can I say something?
Yes, please, Chetan sir.
And we're not trying to scare that slow down your innovation for the sake of government. That's not the message here. The message is that innovation will go on, innovation pace will increase. Do a balance with the regulation, do a balance with the government.
Yeah, use the expertise here today. Yeah.
You need to be more disciplined. You need to have a different approach rather than your normal approach. Like you're copying some code and you're just trying to implement. Do check whether it has some privacy framework and other things. That's more of a... Yeah.
Thank you, Chetan sir. Thank you, Nagaraj sir. Thank you, Ankita ji. Thank you, Anup.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, panelists, for this amazing session. We would like to call upon Arup, sir, for the-
Taraftar, sir, for the distribution of mementos.